Hello again. We are Chris Lee and Chase Robinson of Southeastern 14, continuing our series of SEC schedule previews. Today, we get to the Oklahoma Sooners. And Chase, I think we could call this maybe the SEC pledging period. I don't know. You know, when you pledge, people make it tough on you. And certainly the schedule makers have done that with the Sooners, who it's unbelievable. There's not a lot of let-ups in this slate.
Yeah, welcome to the SEC. I mean, they get definitely one of the toughest schedules in the conference. As we have on a previous show ranked SEC schedules, this was number 2 for both of us, right behind Florida. So it's hard, it's tough, and they're going to learn what SEC football means really, really quick. I think Oklahoma's ready for it, though. I think this is a good Oklahoma Sooners team, and hey, I think they're ready for the challenge. One of the reasons they came to the SEC, be part of the best conference, well, they're getting a taste of it here, and I think we'll learn quick that Oklahoma's ready for it.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how that turns out. A reminder, our content brought to you by BetOnline, your number one source for the NBA Finals and Stanley Cup playoffs this season. Every stat, matchup, and even live odds and spreads while the games are being played. When the game's over, head on over to our online casino, get in on a game of blackjack or poker, unwind with one of over 150 slots games. Head to the website today to get in on the action. Use promo code BELIEVE, that is BLEAV, for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, the game starts here. Well, the Sooners start with Temple, and we will pull up the schedule so you can see along with us. But yeah, not a lot of easy ones on this slate, but the easiest one is the first one. That's Temple, a team that is expected, based on what I'm seeing, to be maybe a bottom 5 team of the 134 FBS teams for the coming season.
Yeah, and I think this game is much more about Oklahoma. Like, what are they? Is Jackson Arnold on the same page with the receivers? All that kind of thing is what they're going to be looking for out of this game. Is hey, let's work together. Let's get everybody on the same page. And I think it's good to start out with a game like that, especially with the schedule that they have. And they could say, hey, let's focus on us here in this opener.
Next up, the Houston Cougars, a team that I'm seeing ranked around the bottom of the Big 12. In fact, the power rankings I'm looking at, I'm seeing Houston ranked as the bottom Big 12 team, just behind Cincinnati and Arizona State. But it is a Power 5 opponent, and a lot of times those aren't easy. And Houston's, of course, had some really good teams in recent memory.
Yeah, Willie Fritz taking over the program this year there at Houston, which I think was a great hire in the offseason. But, yeah, Willie Fritz has actually given Oklahoma some fits back in 2021 when he was at Tulane. But I don't expect that in a kind of a rebuild there at Houston. But still, I think could be a potential challenge. But again, a game you'll learn a lot about your team and where they're at. Again, I think this Houston game falls at a good time of still learning about your team. But still, I think a game Oklahoma will be heavily favored in.
Yeah, speaking of Willie Fritz, he kind of took the house money and ran out of Tulane to Houston, and Tulane is next up on the schedule. Tulane is supposed to be about in the middle of the pack FBS team coming in the season. Of course, they compete in the American Conference, where they probably should be one of the top teams in that league.
Yeah, I think so. I think they will be. But, yeah, you get this game, and this is the week before or the game before you get into SEC play. And so I think you're taking this game and really using it as a way to let's get as sharp as we can, because you got Tennessee the following week. So I think even with John Summerall at Tulane, I think they're going to be a better team. And I think Summerall is going to, make Tulane a contender like they've been in years past at times. So I think this will be a decent Tulane team like you mentioned, but you take this game if you're Oklahoma, I think, and just get as sharp as you can in preparation for what's to come.
Next up, the Tennessee Volunteers. That'll be in Norman. Tennessee expected to be a potential playoff contender for the coming year. Had this matchup, I want to say, 8 or 10 years ago. I don't remember the exact year, but these teams had played before in somewhat recent history. But this will be the first one with the Sooners as a member of the SEC.
Yeah, and the first time that Josh Heupel will return to Norman, where he
Yeah.
was quarterback there at Oklahoma, was an assistant there at Oklahoma, and so that will be an interesting storyline and a big storyline going into this one as Tennessee's head coach. And so I think this should be an excellent matchup as kind of Oklahoma's welcome to the SEC with the Tennessee Vols and a Tennessee team that's expected to be pretty good this year, as well as Oklahoma. So I think this should be an all-out battle to start SEC play for Oklahoma. And this is kind of the start of a tough run for the Sooners here as they get Tennessee in their first SEC game. And I think it will be and especially as we get closer to it, a very highly anticipated game.
Yeah, good call there. I kind of buried the lead on Josh Heupel, didn't I? Next up, they get a road trip. First one in the SEC, going to Auburn after 4 straight home games. This will be very interesting. Hugh Freeze in year 2. He's an offensive mastermind. Oklahoma team that scored a few points in the past. So if you like offensive shootouts, we'll see how much improved Auburn is and whether it can match points with Oklahoma.
Yeah, welcome to the SEC. Like we said, the Plains is a tough place to play. Jordan Hare's going to be rocking as Oklahoma comes in to this one. They'll have some games under their belt, though, again, against a really good Tennessee team the week before. So I think this should be a fun game. Oklahoma breaking in a new quarterback in Jackson Arnold. Auburn has Peyton Thorne. I think it'll be, kind of a game of who's the better quarterback in this one, who can put the points up. Will the crowd play a factor in this one? And so I think it should be an interesting game down in Auburn, but one Oklahoma is definitely going to be eyeing to steal away from the Tigers.
And then comes maybe the focal point of maybe this season, certainly a lot of Oklahoma seasons in the past, and that annual showdown with Texas after a bye week. And that's a bye week when you want a bye week too, by the way.
Perfect bye week. Last year it was Oklahoma beating Texas. Texas going on to win the Big 12, go to the college football playoff, but it was Oklahoma winning that game in the Cotton Bowl. And with this being the rivalry game that it is, I don't think you can count anybody out in this one. And the Red River rivalry always kind of a toss-up game. I'm excited for this one. It'll be interesting. It's a 2:30 kickoff as the times have come out. It's a 2:30 kick. Normally they play this one if you're in the Central Time Zone. It's an 11 a.m. kickoff every year, and so it's going to be a little bit later in the afternoon on October the 12th. And so I think this is going to be a lot of eyes are on this, and I'm glad this is an SEC matchup now as an SEC rivalry, and this should be a really fun one against 2 really good teams. Texas, obviously, one of the favorites for the college football playoff. But again, rivalry game, neutral site. Anything can happen in this one, Chris.
Yeah, next up, Shane Beamer's South Carolina Gamecocks. And for Oklahoma fans who are new, this is probably the time to catch Carolina in the schedule. I mean, you might want them earlier when they're trying to decide who the quarterback is. I presume that's going to be Lenore Sellers, but it's not a given at this point. But Carolina usually starts playing its best ball in November. And Oklahoma not only gets the Gamecocks at home, but it gets them before that window.
Yeah, and I think this is a good one again before you get into those. And you got to win this one. I mean, Oklahoma has their eye on the prize this year, I think, of maybe going all the way to the college football playoff. And it's important games like this. We talk about the Tennessees, we talk about the Auburns, but these games against South Carolina and teams like that are so important. You've got to come in focused, ready to win a game like this. We'll see if South Carolina's improved. I'm sure Oklahoma will be the favorite, but you got to buckle down and win these games. These are so important.
Yeah. 3 of the final 5 games here are brutally tough road trips, starting with the next one, Ole Miss and Oxford. Chase, I'm just going to ask you off the cuff. If you're doing prospective over-unders on games this year involving SEC teams, would this be in the top 5?
Gotta be. It's gotta be. Yeah. This should be a fun game. It's in Oxford, Mississippi. Um, offensively, I think both of these teams are going to be incredible. I mean, just and it's a lot of portal guys for both teams who have come in and of course Jackson Arnold will be a first year quarterback versus Ole Miss will have a third year starting quarterback, and so in Jackson Dart. So I think this should be a really fun offensive game. Ole Miss is another one of those teams who a lot of folks have in the college football playoff. Oklahoma is going to try to spoil that for them because I think this is one of those games for Ole Miss. They don't have many on their schedule that could kind of make or break their year. This is one of those. If Oklahoma was to go into Oxford and play spoiler, that could really mess things up for Ole Miss, and I imagine that's what the Sooners are going to be eyeing to do. But I think this should be a really fun game at Oxford.
Next up, one of the two easiest games on the schedules, the Maine Black Bears. I would be lying if I told you I know anything about that squad. And then next up, a trip to Columbia, Missouri to play the Missouri Tigers, one of 6 teams on this schedule that could be a college football playoff contender.
Yeah, maybe that Maine game comes at a good time to kind of separate this tough stretch here in between Ole Miss and Missouri, in between 2 road trips to a couple of tough places. A lot of high expectations on Missouri this year. Can they sustain the success that they had last year? I think it should be an all-out dogfight, and I think this could be a game for years to come that we circle, this Missouri Oklahoma game. I'm excited that this is an SEC game this year because I think it's 2 really good teams, and I think they're going to provide challenges to each other. I think Oklahoma may be a little more deep than Missouri at certain positions, which I think could help them, just looking at the roster and the amount of guys coming back for both teams, especially defensively for Oklahoma. They've got a good number of guys coming back. And so I think this could be a fun rivalry from here on out, especially if it stays a November matchup. I think this could be really fun.
Oklahoma and Alabama, two of the probably the top 10 programs tradition-wise. Probably know probably about it. This will be a fun one. First SEC meeting between these teams after the bye week, which again, another great time to have a bye week.
It sure is. It comes at a great time, and this is the first time since like 2002 and 2003 we've seen these two teams play on each other's campuses. We've seen them meet up in postseason games, but I'm excited about this. I mean, it's a helmet game. 2 classic college football teams. Again, 2 good quarterbacks, 2 good offensive teams. I think this is you pair this with the Texas game, and this could be one of the toughest games on the schedule for Oklahoma, just based off the experience Alabama has, even with the change of coaches. I think Kalen DeBoer is got Alabama heading in a good direction and in the right direction. And if the improvements have been made to Alabama that I think they have out of the portal and some of these guys, I think Alabama will be a contender for the college football playoff. And having this one in Oklahoma, I think, is big, and especially late in the season. This is going to be kind of a must-win for Alabama at this point of the year, and one for Oklahoma if they're in a position for the college football playoff. So this could be kind of a make-or-break game late in the season, right before rivalry week.
Now, another rite of passage in the SEC is the privilege of going to play at LSU. That's the last game of the season. Boy, can't wait to watch this one either.
I think what this game will come down to is, has LSU's defense improved? Because this is going to be, again, a good offense. The pieces that they've put around Jackson Arnold for Oklahoma are excellent. And so if the defense is a little shady like it was last year, I think the Sooners will be able to move the ball with no problem. But it's Death Valley. Anything can happen, and I think this will be a game that is going to be so much fun to watch for years to come when these two teams play, whether it's in Norman or at LSU. But I'm fascinated by this matchup, and again, these two teams are 2 of the teams that I think not many people have them in the playoff, but it would not surprise me at all if we're having a conversation the week of this November 30th matchup, that the winner of this game could be a playoff team, wouldn't surprise me at all. So I think this could be a huge game to end the season against two really good teams.
Yeah, I mean, roughly 2/3 of the SEC is playoff contenders at this
Yeah.
point. That's just kind of the state of things. I mean, look, if you're looking for some good news here, only 4 true road games, so there's that, and you do get bye weeks before your 2 toughest games. Other
Yeah.
than that, may God have mercy on your soul with this slate.
It's tough. It really is. Again, no favors being done to the Sooners as they enter the SEC. But like I said at the start, I firmly believe the Oklahoma Sooners are ready for the SEC, and they're ready for this schedule. I mean, we saw in Brent Venables' time, his first year, not really what they were looking for. Last year, much better. They've improved so much. Again, the teams are going to be better that they're playing in the SEC. There's no doubt about it. But I think this program is ready. I think Brent Venables, being the defensive guy that he is going to have this defense really good. I think this will be the best defense at Oklahoma we've seen under Brent Venables. So I'm excited to see what Oklahoma does as they come into the SEC, but I think there's no doubt they're ready for it.
Yeah, that makes 2 of us. Can't wait to see what the Sooners do in year 1. We cover the SEC wall to wall, Oklahoma fans. If you're new to us, we do football, baseball, basketball, and we're getting to know your team. We dial in on the teams that are in the SEC, so we're just getting there with you guys now, but we hope you'll make us a home for your SEC coverage. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. For Chase Robinson, I'm Chris Lee. We are Southeastern 14. It's soon to be Southeastern 16. I hadn't made the switch yet, but thank you, Oklahoma. You're responsible for that. You in Texas. We'll be doing that soon. Anyway, thank you for watching. We'll see you again soon.